I want to dive into that first year
Yeah.
of getting things up and running.
Yep.
Especially during the pandemic, and um, was it struggles? Was it instant success? Especially,
Yeah.
I know with like everyone's always curious about the growing the business through social media platforms, right?
Yeah.
And I guess, what was some of the traction pieces, the momentum, what was kind of that first year experience?
So I think it was a combination of frustration and success. So, at first, I remember the pandemic was kind of coming, January, February, March. I had not done my first deal until I think like May.
Mm,
But during that time, I was on a team, so I was learning a lot, obviously, just about real estate. I didn't know what a
yeah,
purchase contract looked like how do you write a purchase contract?
yeah,
But I had three things that really happened. I think I had a family friend refer me to an older couple in Pickerington that just took a shot on me. They had to list their house and they wanted to move back to where I was from, and so they just took a shot. Um, it was it came down to myself and I won't drop any names, but a monster name in Columbus, and they just said, "We want to take the shot on the young guy," which is,
that's awesome.
I don't know if I was them if I would have done that, right? So they took a shot on me. I had another really great referral from a friend, and then I had an admin on the team who was, still to this day. I mean, I always say if it wasn't kind of for her, I would have been lost because having that admin support, she kept me she kept me on track. She kept me organized. Nothing slipped through the cracks. So to the client, it looked like I knew what I was doing.
Yeah,
Like this guy's on it. And
yeah,
really, it was her because she had all her systems, processes set up. Um, and, she had been doing it a little bit. So those three things is like the perfect storm, kind of that month 4 or 5. And then I was diligent about my social media. I was posting at that time, Instagram was about pictures, wasn't
yeah,
video yet. So I was pictures and stories, nonstop. And then I worked open houses religiously
yeah,
because I mean you've done it. People walk through there and they might just be looking. Them they might be in town for the day, and through open houses, I think I got like another 3 clients, and they were big price points too, which
yeah.
is wild because like
That's
they didn't
awesome.
ask me how long I was in the business. They didn't ask me my sales. They were just like, I followed up with them, kept following up, and they were like, "Hey, we really like you. Like, thanks for the persistence,
Yeah,
that you've shown." And and I think my first year, I probably did like around like 4.5 million my first year.
that's awesome.
Yeah, and I
That's
learned
awesome.
a ton. Right, I
Yeah,
lost some big deals. I got fired. I got fired in my first year.
I think that's one of the best things that could ever happen to an agent is a client
Yeah,
actually firing you.
yeah, and it was for like a wild reason that didn't make a lot of sense, and it was hard because like I lost a listing, her buy side, her dad's listing that I was gonna list. Like
Yeah,
it was like this domino effect of a couple $1,000,000, and I was really beat up about it.
yeah,
But it was like kind of like, would you learn? Would you learn? Like you got to get up. The world's not gonna like care anymore, about your losses. You got to get up. It's just you got to keep doing it.
yeah,
So the Instagram then just got more consistent, and then I started getting people moving here, reaching out to me because I just started showing up everywhere.
yeah.
Um,
How many times a
and
day
so
were you posting, do you think?
I was only posting on my feed once a day, but I was super active on my story, and I
Gotcha.
still am. I was doing 5 to 10 stories a day, and I was definitely getting up there and hey, I'm at this house, market updates, whatever, asking people questions. Like I would ask people like, hey, are you thinking about moving to Columbus in the next 6 months? One
Yeah,
person would say yes, and I would follow up with them immediately, and maybe they would say something, maybe they wouldn't, but I was just consistent.
yeah,
And eventually that just kept building a pipeline and a momentum. And one thing I did, and I wanted to always make sure, is with Instagram, is a lot of people but they buy followers or they
yeah,
buy views or clicks. And I always wanted to just stay organic. Organically, people will follow me because they like what they see, they like what they hear.
right.
And that's allowed for, I do a large majority of my business off of YouTube and Instagram.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And, I believe this. I think every single real estate agent that gets licensed should join a team, even if it's for the first 6 months to 12 months, from the standpoint of, the
Yeah.
support, the transaction support,
Oh yeah.
just the
I mean,
paperwork side of things.
oh, for sure. And it wasn't that being on that team sped up my learning curve again, right? It had already happened with business, and then
Yeah.
being on a team it sped it up because I could call the team lead, hey, what do I do? What do you think about this? I just had this conversation. Could ask the admin, like, why are you doing all these things? Why do you have a contract timeline? Like, what's earnest money? I don't even know what is earnest money,
Right. Right.
So I think all those things sped everything up, to where I was able to, like, after a year, it's like, okay, like, I feel like I can do this on my own.
Yeah.
And not
Yeah.
everybody thinks that way. Not everybody wants to run a business.
Right.
My whole aspiration was to have my own thing because I didn't want
Yeah.
to work for anybody anymore, you
Yeah.
know? So that's
Yeah.
kind of how that all worked. So,
So 2021 is when you pulled the plug on your
yeah.
other career.
Yeah. So March of 2021, that ended. And that ended on a Monday, and I left the team on a Tuesday.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was a tough week. That was a tough week for a lot of
Yeah.
reasons, right? I left a team that I had a really strong relationship with, so that was tough. And then I left a
Yep.
job, and my boss, who I had a 10-year relationship with, we had worked together at like different areas. So that week was not a fun week
Yeah.
for anybody, probably. Not just me. Um, but then I was on my own for a little bit, just trying to like get my feet wet.
Yeah.
And then Paige and I got engaged that summer, and was like, okay, you know, now it's time to start this thing.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.